for our families how to achieve peace and prosperity. Are you Fulani? Are you Igbo? Are you Hausa? Are you Yoruba? Are you an African from the continent or the Caribbean? Participate in the town hall debate on Saturday the 10th of February from 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. Keynote speaker, Tony Nyendi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. We aspire for our families peace and prosperity. We love Nigeria. NINA's 5-point proposition is now the only viable mechanism for halting the state capture of Nigeria and for safely navigating Nigeria to the harbour of constitutional reconstruction. Proposition A. Acknowledgement of the constitutional grievances raised in union disputes. Proposition B. Express commitment to decommission the imposed fraudulent and unitary 1999 Constitution. Proposition C. Express commitment to suspend further national elections under the 1999 Constitution. The untenable outcome of the 2023 presidential election must now be transformed into an immediate transitioning for reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Proposition D. Constituent peoples of Nigeria to work out the modalities for transitioning. Proposition E. Announcement of a time-bound two-stage transitioning commence with a regional referendum for constituent components to recommit to or opt out of the Nigeria Union. Then delineation of terms of unions depending on outcomes of the referendums. We love Nigeria. Ninas is right. Transition for union reconfiguration. We love Nigeria. Nigeria's 223 million population will join the People's Town Hall debate on The Motivator Show. Keynote speaker Tony Nyendi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10. The Nigerian People's Town Hall Debate for our families, how to achieve peace and prosperity. Are you Fulani? Are you Igbo? Are you Hausa? Are you Yoruba? Are you an African from the continent or the Caribbean? Participate in the Town Hall Debate on Saturday the 10th of February from 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. Keynote speaker, Tony Nyendi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. We aspire for our families peace and prosperity. We love Nigeria. NINA's 5-point proposition is now the only viable mechanism for halting the state capture of Nigeria and for safely navigating Nigeria to the harbour of constitutional reconstruction. Proposition A. Acknowledgement of the constitutional grievances raised in union disputes. Proposition B. Express commitment to decommission the imposed fraudulent and unitary 1999 Constitution. Proposition C. Express commitment to suspend further national elections under the 1999 Constitution. The untenable outcome of the 2023 presidential election must now be transformed into an immediate transitioning for reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Proposition D. Constituent peoples of Nigeria to work out the modalities for transitioning. Proposition E. Announcement of a time-bound two-stage transitioning commence with a regional referendum for constituent components to recommit to or opt out of the Nigeria Union. Then delineation of terms of unions depending on outcomes of the referendums. We love Nigeria. Ninas is right. Transition for union reconfiguration. We love Nigeria. Nigeria's 223 million population will join the People's Town Hall debate on The Motivators Show. Keynote speaker Tony Nyandi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. The Motivators Show, the internet's most inspirational podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. The Motivators Show. Success is ours for the taking. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10. The Nigerian People's Town Hall debate for our families. How to achieve peace and prosperity. Are you Fulani? Are you Igbo? Are you Hausa? Are you Yoruba? Are you an African from the continent or the Caribbean? Participate in the Town Hall debate on Saturday the 10th of February from 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. Keynote speaker Tony Nyandi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. We aspire for our families peace and prosperity. We love Nigeria. Ninus 5-point proposition is now the only viable mechanism for halting the state capture of Nigeria and for safely navigating Nigeria to the harbour of constitutional reconstruction. Proposition A. Acknowledgement of the constitutional grievances raised in union disputes. Proposition B. express commitment to decommission the imposed fraudulent and unitary 1999 Constitution. Proposition C. Express commitment to suspend further national elections under the 1999 Constitution. The untenable outcome of the 2023 presidential election must now be transformed into an immediate transitioning for reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Proposition D. Constituent peoples of Nigeria to work out the modalities for transitioning. Proposition E. Announcement of a time-bound two-stage transitioning commence with a regional referendum for constituent components to recommit to or opt out of the Nigeria Union. Then delineation of terms of unions depending on outcomes of the referendums. We love Nigeria. Ninas is right. Transition for union reconfiguration. We love Nigeria. Nigeria's 223 million population will join the People's Town Hall debate on The Motivators Show. Keynote speaker Tony Nyandi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. The Motivators Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. The Motivators Show. Success is ours for the taking. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10. Good morning, and good morning. And how are you finding yourselves this fine morning? This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. How are you feeling, people? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? I'm feeling alive. I'm feeling vigorous. Come on. Let's raise your energy levels. The motivator is here now. This is time where we start to make changes. changes, forward march, no hesitation, no fear. We are resolute in our desire for change, for the better, for improvement, and that will happen. Mark our words. Okay, let's get this show underway. Now, first of all, I want to give the appreciation to the GalaxyAfiwi.net management. And of course, Jayan King, who's taken us from night to day. Jayan King, I hope you're well. And I give praise, enough respect, as they say, to the Galaxy management, of course, to Chief Pakumbabai, the visionary leader of GalaxyAfiwi.net. And of course, this particular show goes out on many platforms simultaneously. And there you are. It's now on the screen. We're going out live via YouTube on the Motivator Show, live via Facebook on the Motivator Show, live via Mixcloud, audio only, again under the Motivator Show. We're also going out live via Instagram under the Motivator Show with an underscore between the words. And of course, we'll also send excerpts via TikTok, again under the Motivator Show. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to us under those platforms as well. It simply helps us to continue to extend our coverage, now reaching more than 150,000 people worldwide. I'm really proud of that progress. Thank you all. Thank you for your support. Continue to spread the word. Continue to spread the word. When we hit 1 million, then I might hesitate. For now, to keep spreading the word. Right. We've got a busy show coming up. It'll be exciting, thrilling, intellectually stimulating, empowering experience. That's why these shows are completed. For you to feel motivated at the end, sufficiently motivated that nothing will get in the way. No, not your bodies, your mind, or other people. Forward march, forward to improvement. That is what we must achieve. Never be satisfied just standing still. Move forward with intention. Move forward with intention. There you are. Hope that's sufficient energy-raising words for you all. Right. Let's move it on. Let's move it on. Because it's truly been an exciting, strong for me. I've met some exciting and truly thrilling people. People who have validated the reasons why these shows are underway. People reminded me, if I needed to be reminded, that these shows, just like the many shows on GalaxyAfiwi.net, okay, they are important to the progression of our peoples, both here in Britain, Europe, the Caribbean, the continent, the mother continent of Africa, the Americas, worldwide. Change is an absolute feature in our progression. Standing still is not an option. And that country, Nigeria, which we'll come to later on, is a vital piece of the puzzle about people's progression across the world. Okay, we must find peace and prosperity. Yep, we must find peace and prosperity. Ensure our children receive the best possible education, and remembering those STEM subjects. Yep, science, technology, engineering, and maths, and all these subjects that lead us from that is a critical part of our progression. Okay, science, technology, engineering, and maths. Keep those words in your mind when speaking to teachers, speaking to educators, young people. When you're deciding your careers, does it relate to one of those subjects? Oh yeah. There are many opportunities abound for you. Let's make sure you receive the right advice. And those young people who are in classrooms now disrupting your own education, I urge you to do otherwise. But let's get on with this show. I want to now move on to as many of you have acknowledged, is the lifestyle messages. Okay, and I want to get on that quite quickly because last time we almost ran out of time. But, what is important is that not only of you hear and see, but you respond to the information that's shared with yourselves. Hearing and seeing, but responding validates why information is shared with you. And many of you will, of course, recall that only a few weeks ago, I had some really interesting guests that are really part of the exciting feature of the show. Okay? Let me just remind you of two of those guests, which I believe will be important. You recall, on the 27th of January, we spoke about the Windrush so-called compensation scheme. I know it's called Windrush, and let me just make a qualification about this. It's called Windrush purely for marketing reasons. But when we're discussing this, we're discussing those persons, particularly African persons, some Asian people, who was denied their citizenship here in Britain, okay, because there was a miscarriage of justice. Okay, so you could be from the Caribbean, but many people from West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, those countries that were part of the so-called British Empire. It's important for me to say that because I realize the term Windrush, if you're from West Africa, you don't relate to it. And I get that. And I just want to put it on the record. The compensation scheme applies to you if your family is from West Africa, okay? And you were here under the terms of the 1948 Immigration Act here in Britain, okay? And of course, you were here before your countries gained independence, okay? But right up until 1972, you had an absolute right to claim your British citizenship. I just need to say that. So if in doubt, please speak to a legal advisor. If in doubt, speak to a legal advisor. Okay? If you are a son or daughter or a nephew of a person from West Africa, or indeed from the Caribbean, and you were here your mother and father were here up to 1972, and indeed a few years thereafter, you most probably are entitled by law to British citizenship. They cannot take it from you. And if you've been treated badly, please obtain advice of a legal counsel. And the other quick point I want to make, of course, some of you will recall that a few strongs ago, I had this wonderful, exciting organization called Ubuntu Generational Wealth. Okay? And I believe they're now in Kingston, Jamaica. They're in Kingston, Jamaica. And I understand the conference is doing extremely well, extremely well. I might just put it on the screen. Okay, so it's the Ubuntu Awakening Summit, and today is the last day in Kingston, Jamaica. Okay, now I hope when they get back to have them back on this show to give us an update on how the conference proceeded. Okay, that was one of those events I recommended. If you didn't attend, you should attend if you want to bridge the gap. Progress will only be made when we come together with common aim and common purpose. I'm going to say it again. Progress will only be made when we come together in common aim and common purpose. There you are. There you are. Another one of my sayings. Yes, I'm feeling inspired this morning. I am truly feeling inspired. Now, let's get now into the crucial, life-saving, here we go, lifestyle messages. I say life-saving and I pause because this week, I must say, that a number of important people I've known for many years have passed, okay? And I want to give a big shout out to the family of Tina, the chair of the East Street Trade Association. She was on this show last year. She recently passed. I give my condolences to her family. Okay? I give my condolences to her family. She was a great woman, a great African woman. And I may well, in a few weeks' time, play a few excerpts of her wise words. So I want to thank her family for the support she received from her. And indeed, those who loved and knew her, I want to extend my appreciation to them all as well. So let's get into the lifestyle messages. But before I do that, I just want to point out that if you wish to communicate with the studio, you can do so. You can do so via the chat facility on Facebook and YouTube. You can chat to with the studio at any time. And today's show will be a town hall show after the lifestyle messages. And I'll explain the details momentarily. But let me get right into the lifestyle messages, because these lifestyle messages, I understand, are a vital part of many people's understanding of what it is to be a healthy person. Mm-hmm. Because it goes to the fundamentals of our way in which we live ourselves, the way in which we live. So I'm going to put it on the screen, and I'm going to narrate these lifestyle messages, and I hope they receive you well. Okay, and let's begin. Famous. Oh, let's go. That's a good start, isn't it? That's the wrong one. That's the countdown. I'll get to the countdown in a moment. Let's do it. There we are. Get the right one up there. Back on the screen. There we go. Back on the screen. There you go. Right. Lifestyle messages. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you consume every day. Sugar is one of those ingredients we add to our diet, really as a means to give additional flavor to the foods. And we love to give to children so-called sweets as a treat. And the children, just like myself when I was a child, become addicted to the sweets, sugar, in other words. I've got to say to you, now that I'm an adult, I have no idea why such a habit was formed, okay, and why it was considered to be appropriate to give large bags of sweets to children. Yeah? Many of you be aware, one of the consequences of excessive consumption of sugar is, of course, diabetes. Diabetes in our communities is running rampant. Yeah? Up to 30, 40, in some cases 50% of the population have either got diabetes, they're aware of it, or unaware that they have diabetes. Yeah, the misfunction of the pancreas to secrete insulin, and you become insulin numb. It is one of those conditions that many members of the community are now having to take injections and have to manage very carefully. Yeah? So I ask you to consider the amount of sugar that you consume each day. I equally ask you to consider the amount of salt that you consume each day. Again, salt is added to our diet by way of a flavor enhancing ingredient. Yeah, it's totally unnecessary for the most of us. Totally unnecessary, because many of our food already contains appropriate amounts of salt. Again, the hardening of the arteries, the rising of our blood pressures, there's a direct causal link between the overconsumption of salt and the raising of our blood pressures, yep, or hypertension. So these two ingredients alone, sugar and salt, have long-term implications for our families, for our communities. So I ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you consume each day. It is, and I realize, challenging to change the habit of a lifetime, but reducing gradually the amount of sugar and salt that you consume each day is beneficial to your long-term health and well-being. And those of you who already taken medication to regulate these two conditions will completely understand what I've just described. I also ask you to consider the amount of carbohydrates that you consume each day. Carbohydrate is one of those ingredients that is simply a part of our cuisine, primarily derived from wheat-based products, yeah, and some root vegetables such as potatoes and yams. Yep, I'm saying it, yeah. It is the overconsumption of carbohydrates which is a challenge for us. And I ask you to consider moderating, reducing gradually the amount of carbohydrates that you consume each day. And I know that's difficult for many. And I realize that's difficult for many. Don't misunderstand. I realize that's difficult. But it is a necessary part of us progressing and developing healthy lifestyle habits. It is the overconsumption of sugar and salt and carbohydrates which is a challenge. I also ask you to consider the amount of fat that you consume each day. And on the screen, you can see raw meat. But you can see the meat, but you can also see the white streaks in the meat. Okay, this is very common to all meats. The white streaks are simply fat. I say it again, it's simply fat. Okay, and our bodies believe as we consume the amount of fat that we consume is quite large, that we're seeking to accumulate additional energy, yeah, for a rainy day. So you see many members of the community with these bloated bodies, which I'll come to in a moment. But the overconsumption of fat can cause both internal and external obvious signs of deficiency. And I ask you to really consider the amount of fat that you consume each day. It is one of those pernicious ingredients which permeates our food. In other words, it's throughout our food that we need to be conscious of. As we give it to our children, we give it to ourselves, and think about the long-term consequences. And here on the screen, you can see an artery which is partially blocked, yeah, with hardened carbohydrates and salts, and of course, the fats, yeah. And you can see the restricted blood flow. And I ask you to consider what that might, an effect that would have on you. It definitely will raise your blood pressure because it takes more pressure for the heart to pump harder to get by this blockage. Restrict blood flow to your extremities, in other words, your limbs, the consequential feeling of weakness. And of course, reduces blood flow to your brain and how you feel mentally as a direct causal link between the food impact it has on your body and what impact it have on your brain and its functioning. This is what is actually happening in many of our bodies. This is not fiction. This is fact. This is not fiction. This is fact, the truth. Another ingredient I ask you to consider very carefully, the quantum, the amount that you consume each day. And that is, of course, starch. Again, starch is found in many of our food, but most certainly it is found in rice. Yep. And those of you from the Caribbean will understand, particularly Jamaicans, the rice and peas. It's not the rice and peas the problem, it's the quantum, the amount that we eat each day. And many of you from West Africa in particular, and I get it, particularly from Ghana and Nigeria, I get it. The jollof rice, I hear you, yes. It's not the jollof rice the problem, it's the amount, the quantum that we consume each day, which is the challenge. That is the challenge. I hear you. But the recommended amount of food to consume each day by the expert is no more than a fistful per sitting. Yep, your fistful of food per sitting. And I get it. I understand. That's a challenge when you've been consuming these large platefuls of meals, yep, in each setting. I get it. But change is necessary. Change towards improvement is necessary. And the last example here is where starch is contained with the sugar and the salt, with these cakes and these biscuits. Yes, it is jam-packed full of starch. I ask you to consider carefully the amount of starch that you consume each day. The impact on our communities is profound. I say again, the impact in our communities is profound. Levels of diabetes, the levels of high blood pressure or hypertension, the levels of obesity, in other words, fatness in the community, yeah, the levels of cancers in the community are just off the scale. Yeah, it is off the scale. And if in doubt, my words, I ask you to do your own research, inquire for yourselves, to satisfy yourselves. The words I'm uttering are not fear-mongering, it's actual facts, particularly amongst the African or black populations, mixed race populations in Britain, Europe, the Caribbean, the Americas, and parts of Africa, where the access to calories is relatively easy and cheap. Yes, I ask you to validate my words. If in doubt, speak to your doctors. On the screens, you see the direct impact it has on our bodies. Here in parts of London, amongst the black or African population, obesity runs at more than 60%. I say again, obesity runs at more than 60%. That's fatness, in other words, yeah? You can see on the screen, you can see examples of people with bloated shoulders, bloated chest, bloated abdomens, bloated thighs, and bloated buttocks or bottoms, if you like. This is the direct causal impact of our lifestyle on our bodies and our general health. And many of you will be aware that I'm an elected official, so I see the official stats and they make for uncomfortable reading. So I urge you to hear these words. I urge you, and if in doubt, I say again, speak to your doctors, speak to your nutritionists, speak to your pharmacists, those who are medically trained, have got access to your medical records, and therefore can tailor-made a nutritional diet for you that best serves your needs. The experts, of course, will tell you the way in which to combat these diseases I've mentioned, of course, is to eat far more fruits and vegetables, untainted fruits and vegetables. In other words, non-processed food. You can see on the screen the beetroot, the apples. You can see the Noriega. You can see the melons. You see the bananas. You see the grapes. The avocados. Yeah. You see the pumpkin seed, the pears. Yeah. You can see the celery, the tomatoes. Yeah. This is what our bodies crave. With this food, our bodies can convert into flesh and blood, enhance our clarity of thought. This is what raises our energy levels. Food which is untainted. Yeah, see the beetroot, the onions. Yeah, see the celery. You see the lettuce, the cabbages. Yeah? This is the food our bodies crave. Yeah, this is the food our bodies crave. Give our bodies what it needs, and our bodies will take care of it. You see the carrots, yeah? You see the garlic. You see the tomatoes. This is the food our bodies crave. You see the kale, yeah? You see the oranges and lemons, yeah? You see the cabbages. This is what our bodies crave. This is the food our bodies crave. Give your bodies what it needs to take care of you so you can boost your immune systems. Yeah. Experts also recommend that you should consume between 2 to 3 litres of water per day. And the foods I've just described all contain ample amounts of water. But, it's always useful to top up. You see a gentleman and lady on the screen now drinking their water. Water is life. We're more than 70% water. I say again, we are more than 70% water. So I recommend to you, ensure that you drink the appropriate amount of water per day. Water is life. You can see it on screen. Water is life. But what I've described thus far means absolutely nothing unless you exercise each day. I say again, unless you exercise each day in a meaningful way. Yeah? Have the right food, drink the right amount of water is critical. But exercise is critical, as critical of what I've mentioned so far. You see the young lady with her weight, pumping those weights. In fact, I've got my weights here today. Oh, God, there we go. I do 200 to 300 of these pumps up with my weight each day, both from both arms, both legs. I'm pushing my body. So I'm sweating each day. That is what our bodies crave. This is what our bodies crave. You see the gentleman, mature gentleman, with his headphones in, and he's running. Running 2 to 3 miles a day if you can is ideal for our bodies. That is what makes us human beings. See the young man doing his press-ups. See those bulgy muscles, huh? He's doing his press-up, 200 to 300 press-ups per day. You see that? He's maintaining his excellent health. You see the young lady running up and down the stairs. This is what enables our bodies to maintain its vigor, boost our immune system. Therefore, you defend yourself against the viruses and bacteria, the maladies that pervade our environment. This is what you should do each day. If you do not do this, then you are telling your body you're winding down, preparing for death. Therefore, exercise is a vital part of who you are as human beings. On the screen, you now see the other parts of the general lifestyle messages I must communicate with you. And that's, of course, taking care of your mental and spiritual health. Your mental health, if in doubt, seek out professional advice. If you're a little coy about that, speak to whoever you trust most. I'm confident whoever you trust most and who has the greatest respect for you, love for you, will support you to find the professional help that you need. And as regards your spiritual health, I always say, speak to your spiritual advisors, yeah? Your imam, your pastor, your priest, yeah? Whoever is your spiritual advisor, so that you can take care not only your body, not only your mind, but your spirit as well. Because that's an integral part of who you are as a human being. Taking care of your mental and spiritual health ensures a rounded approach to your general health and well-being. And that's why these messages are a vital part of every podcast, every show that I give out. Because I've seen the figures, and therefore it would be irresponsible of me not to highlight to you the people, that not only must you hear these words, but you must translate these words into action. I say again, you must translate these words into action, because that's the way you promote not only your general health and well-being, but our entire community's health and well-being. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. Yeah, there's another one for you. Yes, I've been feeling an inspired mood today. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. Okay? Okay, all righty. There you are. Now, what I'm pleased by is the positive response that I've had to these transmissions this past year. And Africans and peoples right across Britain, across the Caribbean, across Africa, across the Americas are coming together in common aim and common purpose, recognizing, coming together, working with common aim and common purpose. We can make the difference to our personal lives, to our families' lives, to our communities' lives. And coming together in common aim and common purpose, pooling their resources, in this case, to the exercise together. I recognize the challenge many people have in exercising by themselves, as I described on the screen. So I want to commend to you a group of Africans who've come together in common aim and common purpose. People from right across the continent, from South Africa to Zimbabwe, from Nigeria to Ghana, from Sierra Leone to Liberia, from Jamaica to Trinidad, and from Trinidad to Britain, from the United States, yes, to Wales here in Britain. Yeah, come together in common aim and common purpose. I want to commend to you the Countdown Organization, an example of African peoples coming together. Just watch them exercising together. Watch them, and be inspired.
Cheese. Famous. Hello. self get one life only. Why we no go use am gladdy gladdy and enjoy the time? Palava no dey finish, time me no dey wait nobody. Now why I dey try for always get am nice every day and night? This one way we all friend we safe, now nobody own. You want to eat with you much, we go down the bed, now you young. In the balance where you go die left, now all the money young. So if one degree you say oh, tell him to come where you let buy am. If you see finance where you collect bill am. You talk woman where you let piano. And if you let the man I for keep on. What them the food where you feel for it, some for eat am. That fine about you like na for buy am. And try am. And if you really love it, you should love am. But you love him more now, you not forever. Want them more, cause nobody know what you tomorrow old. So every day I feel like they're old. I'm seen enjoyment stay low. I run for me for yourself. Nobody love you but see yourself. All money the fed for yourself. Now wherever you like what's your them on the party. Power, me do Yahweh. Power, me smile Yahweh. Oh no, not the body take the peace away. Power, me do Yahweh. Power, me smile Yahweh. Oh no. Every day, I see they also look happy. They like na boku on a small cage. Land for the loose body 110. Not to money, not to jetty. No money make motor man and brother. As long as you get waiting, you dey eat. Land for the loose body 110. This one way we all friend we safe. Now nobody own. You want to eat with too much, we go down your belly. Now you young. Balance where you go die left, now all the money young. So if for the pity you say for, now the motor car where you let buy am. If you see finance where you collect bill am. You meet up woman where you let piano. And if you let the man na for keep am. Want them more. The food where you feel for eat some for eat am. That fine the power you like na for buy am. And try am. And if you baby love you back love am. But if you love them all now you na for left am. Want them more. Cause nobody know wetin tomorrow hold. So every day I feel like they're old. I'm seen enjoyment stable. Now for land for care for yourself. Nobody love you but see yourself. All man they fed for yourself. Oh. Now I know they allowed with the other man they can't take me peace away. Me joy away. Me smile away. Oh no make nobody take you peace away. Me joy away. Me smile away. Oh no.
Wow. Wasn't that fantastic? They come together in common aim and common purpose, pull their financial resources together. And you see Ishmael at the front there, leading them in an exercise routine. Each person who've attended that particular class, they've got their initial baseline figures. In other words, they take their heart rate. They take their blood pressure, take note of their cholesterol levels, okay, and any other important profile that's relevant to that person, okay, and then they note a progression over time, once a month, taking those vital signs to monitor that person's progression. Wow, yeah. come together in common aim and common purpose. Who says that Africans from across the continent cannot come together in common aim and common purpose? Who says Africans here in Britain cannot come together, whether you be from Ghana or from Nigeria, from Jamaica or from Trinidad, cannot come together in common aim and common purpose? Who said that? That is negative propaganda. And that is what we must defy. I'm going to say again, negative propaganda. That's what we must defy. That's why these podcasts, that's why these shows are important. And if you wish to contact the Countdown Organisation, you live in South London, you may live here in Southwark, South London, why not contact the Countdown Organisation and join them in their exercise classes? I'll put the details up on the screen now. If you wish to contact them, because you're here in South London and are able to travel to Woolworth here in South London, they hold their exercise classes on every Monday and Friday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at number 1 Bodley Way in Woolworth in London. That's S for sugar, E17, 1 F for Freddie, N. And if you wish to contact them by telephone, call 07960 803 588. I repeat, 07960 803 588. And of course, you can email them on countdown0405 at gmail.com. Countdown0405 at gmail.com. Okay. I commend the Countdown Organisation, an example of quite a number across Britain who've come together. Africans recognising if we work together, we rise together. I say again, African recognising if we work together, we rise together. Okay, absolutely vital part of who we are as a people. There are a few other announcements I will make, but I think I want to prepare now. Prepare the way for what will be a town hall interactive show. I say it's a town hall interactive show because you recall, at our last broadcast, okay, I had the inspired Tony Nandi. Okay, now his delivery was outstanding. It was information full, information rich, inspirational, and many of you wanted to interact with Tony. Today will be that opportunity. Today will be that opportunity. There's a few questions I wish to ask of him prior to him coming on board, but more importantly, we will give you, Africans both here in Europe, in Nigeria, across the continent, in the Americas, the opportunity to directly interact with Tony Nandi. Okay, why is that important? Well, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Maybe I can put it on the screen. Because, of course, Ninus is right. Okay? I'm going to say again, Ninus is right. Okay? And as a consequence, it's important to have that public debate. Okay? So what I want to do this time is to give you, the audience, and I've had many of you made this inquiry, the opportunity to interact with Tony Nandi directly. Okay? Why is that such an important requirement on this case? Because he sits right at the very center of this debate. Right at the very center. And of course, you know there's a very special, inspired African woman who I love to refer to her articles called Ndidi Ishiwa. And her articles are so directly to the point, so well crafted, and I'm always obliged to mention her name whenever I mention Nigeria. I mention inspired women, okay, because she's truly an inspired woman. So what I'm going to do, let's see who we've got in the studio first of all. Let's see who we've got in the studio first of all. Let's see, we've got Tony up. I don't see Tony, but I see Ndidi. Let me capture Ndidi. Let's bring Ndidi into the studio first of all. Let's see if I can do this first of all. Here we go. Let's bring Ndidi in. And let's do this. There we go. Oh, good morning, Ndidi. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, wow, you look magnificent this morning. It looked like in a bland environment.
You're a flatterer.
The truth is the truth and remains the truth, if I may say so.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be here.
Thank you, thank you. Now then, your camera is moving just a little bit, and we're looking out for Tony, of course. He's got the link, of course, hasn't he? He's got the link.
He's got the link. Let's hope his network
Ah,
will be okay.
this is going to be this will be the town hall session where I'm going to ask a few questions, but this time I'm going to give the audience the opportunity to directly interact with him. So let's hope so. Let's hope so. So first of all, how are you keeping there in Diddy? How are you keeping?
Well,
Yeah.
we are managing. We're managing. I'm actually at a friend's house somewhere in Igbo land, and I'm being spoilt very much. So I feel like a newborn baby being spoilt, fed and coddled, and well looked after.
Wow, I must say, I can't remember feeling like that. I must say, so you are fortunate. This is good, and these are obviously good friends because you're smiling and you look really alive. You know, there you are. Huh? There you are. So, pending Tony's arrival, let me just begin with yourself, Indidi, and I just want to ask just a few questions to get the show underway. And what I'm going to say at the outset, at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to put on the telephone number that those of you who are watching, listening, are able to utilize. Okay, and I'm opening up the phone lines much earlier this time, barring any reason why I shouldn't. There you are. Put it on the bottom of my screen, and there you are. It's now scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If you wish to interact with us, and you're in the UK, it's 0203 289 6504. If you're international, of course, it's +44, and you remove the zero, the first zero, then it becomes 203 289 6504. Okay, if you're international. This is a Skype number. So if you are a Skype member, you can use that number and there's no cost to yourself. Simply the local the internet charge, but whatever the data you have. Okay, just so you understand. So this is a Skype number. Okay, all righty, there you are. Oh, I see Tony's arrived in Diddy. Or are you still with us in Diddy? Oh, we may have lost.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, no, I'm here. Oh, good. I'm glad he's there.
Yep. Okay. Let's see if I can bring Tony in. His screen is blank. Let's see if this works. Tony, let's see now. Tony, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Lie down. Okay. Right. You ready?
Just a moment to steady it. Just
of course.
A moment to steady it.
Volume is just your volume a little bit there. Or is that better?
Just hold on still. Camera.
Yep. Okay. And I just wanted to share with the audience that you're both in Nigeria. You might just tell us, both of you, where in Nigeria you are currently. In fact, I think Ndidi told us you're where in Nigeria now, Ndidi?
Oh, me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's a village and it is in Imo State. So that is in the heart of Igbo land. And it's not far from Owerri. That's where I am right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, there you are. And here I'm based in London. There you go. All right. Oh, Tony, he's getting his his equipment.
Yes, I'm just. I've been in the midst of 3 different transactions this morning.
Don't worry.
Right. Okay, I think we can.
We can
proceed. If you see me clear, I think we can go now.
Okay. Good. All right. I think what I want to do, just for the audience, if you can provide maybe 10 minutes before calling, but I don't mind if you call, but I'll have you on hold until I ask the opening questions of Ndidi and Tony Nyandi. Okay. So if I may, Tony, just to go over to you first of all, following on from our discussion last week. Okay. So what I wanted first of all are these 2 points. First of all, I'm very conscious that a number of members of the Fulani community here in London watch the show, okay, and that there are aspects of my questions to you and your responses, which were, I think the term used were unfair or unfounded. Okay. What I'm going to do at this point, and those who made that statement to me, feel free to call in about 10 minutes' time. I really want to get the factual basis of our dialogue set out on the table. Okay. So my first question to you, that we're now in 2024. Okay.
Right.
And I've been monitoring the newscasting from across Nigeria. And what I note in every newsroom, there's a report of a person dying as a direct result of the internal tensions in Nigeria. Okay. And what I'm struck by is how common it is. It's how common. We just accept it. It's happening again and again and again. And I wondered, do you have any figures, even rough figures, of the number of persons, particularly in the north of Nigeria, okay, in that area which in the NINAS map is seen as being sheer areas, okay, the numbers of people who may have died this past since the beginning of this year? Because I seem to count hundreds of people, but you tell me, give us some idea of the scale of the killings that are going on in Nigeria as of today. Yeah.
Anybody, welcome everybody, and thank you for having us.
Yes.
Anybody who is still counting in hundreds is certainly behind the times.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about thousands. You had in Plateau alone, you hear about 12, 15, 17 communities that are completely overrun. That's in Plateau alone.
Mm-hmm.
The ones happening in places like Taraba that are not even reported.
Mm-hmm.
Benue is all of the local governments are in distress. Where's it again? The one of Niger, they actually control some local government areas where people have to pay some kind of tax to be able to operate. Even the government pays. The last governor there had an arrangement with them in which they were managing some parts of the state. So we're talking about thousands and thousands that go unreported. What is going on even in Yoruba land now,
Mm-hmm.
which is not the spotlight? Everybody thinks it's only in the Middle Belt. It's only in Plateau. You can see what could happen that traditional rulers are killed in their kingdoms. We've almost lost count of such incidences. You saw the bomb in Ibadan. So the killings are there's no war going on in the world today that posts the number of casualties, in comparison with Nigeria.
I understand.
And so it's an onslaught. And the common denominator in all these places is that only one set of people are doing the killings.
Mm-hmm.
Does that not strike you?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a conquest agenda going on for people talking about narratives.
Mm-hmm.
There's a conquest agenda.
Yes. Thank you, Tony.
Right.
Again, I am struck by the frequency of killings across all the news media, whether it be TV, whether it be radio, or in the newspapers that's being reported, to which there is relatively little response to. I said 100, you said thousands, and I'm not going to disagree with you, because it's not been extensive for me, but the scale is shocking.
Right.
Seems to me almost inconceivable that we should not, I'm sitting comfortably here in London, highlight the scale of the killings. Inconceivable. Okay. The next question for you is of course, look, as many of you be aware, I'm a local government politician here in London. Okay, very different, of course, to what it's like in Nigeria, admittedly, but I didn't need to put it on the table. Okay, so I understand politics. Okay, what I'm not fully appreciating is the local politicians and their response to the many killings that is happening. Okay, and this is regardless of party. I don't understand why the politicians seem to be relatively mute or appear to be almost, in some cases, condoning or justifying the killing. Can you offer some rational explanation for this state of affairs?
Yes. As far as NINAS is concerned, NINAS is the organization I speak for, aggregating the nationalities, the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria across board, particularly in the victim territories of the Middle Belt and the South. Because those who adopted Sharia, of course, they may have their means of dealing with the matter. That's not our primary concern. But in the places where the killings are happening, as you report, the politicians there, NINAS has drawn a line, a battle line. And I want all who are listening now to note what I'm about to say. The Constitution of Nigeria, as we have now, is an imposition of that invasion force. The people who are invading and killing now to conquer the entire Nigerian territory and share amongst the Fulani. They were the ones who imposed the unitary constitution we have now, that tie the hands of the owners of the land to the back. Worse than apartheid. Taking the economic assets of the owners of the land, removing their rights to govern themselves in any form, but they have local collaborators. Those are the people we are talking about now, the local politicians across this entire territory, whether they're of BDP or APC or of Labour Party. For instance, the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, who on all other counts stands head and shoulders above the other candidates in the last election. He started his campaign by saying that there's nothing wrong with the Constitution of Nigeria, whereas this organization I speak for had been consistently for 24 years, 25 now, telling the whole world that the Constitution of Nigeria, the unitary Constitution of Nigeria, which was imposed unilaterally by these same forces that are killing people everywhere, is the problem with Nigeria. Whether you talk about corruption that you hear about, this constitution creates massive avenues for corruption. This constitution comprehensively protects the beneficiaries of corruption by blanket immunity. So you are not going to be able to do anything about corruption, including if Peter Obi were to be president under this constitution. We actually went as far as saying that anybody who will say he's going to fight corruption under this constitution is a criminal. And I'm prepared to go to a town hall debate with those candidates themselves or whichever team they can bring forward. As it is with corruption, the security we talk about now, the killings we talk about now, under this constitution, all the arms are confiscated into the hands of the people who are executing the invasion. It is on the exclusive list, and we have 68 items there, unilaterally inserted by the people who are causing this havoc. Right. What does that mean? All the guns are only in the hands of the so-called federal government. So-called because our federation collapsed in 1966, and the carcass of that federation was hijacked by this caliphate, which then went on to impose this constitution, in which they inserted 68 items on the exclusive list, meaning that only the federal government will control all the arms and ammunition in the country. And since that federal government is not our federal government, That federal government is an illicit federal government. It's been so since 1967.
Yes.
That Nigeria that is defined by this constitution is not my project.
Yes.
It's not the project of all of those who have been slaughtered across the length and breadth of Nigeria by the same people.
Yes.
Look at this map you see in the rear.
Yes.
Look at it again.
Yes.
All the killings happening are being perpetrated by people from that belt you see in yellow.
Yes.
The Sharia Caliphate.
Yes.
We are not of the same civilization, and they are, because we have now defeated this constitution, an alliance of the rest of us, an alliance of the South and Middle Belt, which constitutes well over 75-80% of the country's population, and which now includes the Hausa owners of the land. In that Sharia belt you see, the indigenous people they met there when Uthman Danfodio got into this territory are Hausa people. They killed off their kings and decimated them, took over their lands. Yes. Those Hausa people who own those lands, they have the same sovereignty rights and the self-determination rights like the rest of us. Yes. And they are hoping that if this matter is resolved, they will be standing on their soil like Scottish people standing in Scotland to discuss the terms of being in union with anybody. And so I can report further to you that in addition, so you can see the level of majority that is now acting together, and that's the majority I speak for. That union of Nigeria that is defined by this master-servant constitution is no longer the project, has not been the project of these people who are in this whitish part of the South and the Middle Belt, and the Hausa owners of the lands that have been taken over by Sharia and feudalism today. So that's the spread.
Sure.
And I was talking about security. To the extent that arms and ammunition are on that exclusive list, nobody, not even the governors of this number of states across the South and Middle Belt, not even the governors can issue one rifle. Oh. And so if as a governor, if as a politician, you were talking about politicians and their attitude to this campaign, they are standing with the enemy because they are prepared to swear to defend and uphold this constitution. They are doing the democracy you hear under a constitution that rendered their own people slaves. And so they are committing treason against their own people by joining forces with the invader that imposed a constitution. And what is their benefit for doing that? We allege that is because of the humongous sums of money that come with being a governor, with being a senator. You read the stories every day. Yes. This constitution protects them from the people. Yes. They sit in Abuja sharing trillions every month, yes, whether they are president or governor or senator, all the way to local government area. And each of them have to swear to defend and uphold this atrocity. And so they pitch themselves against the people they pretend to govern, against the people they pretend to represent. If I have one bullet left to tell you how bad it is,
what is left? Yes.
Because as it is with corruption, so it is with security. Nobody can do anything about security of Nigeria as long as this constitution is standing. Everybody who suggests that they are going to solve the problem with this constitution still in place, they are telling you lies, and we challenge them to come to tell us how people who cannot touch guns are going to defend themselves against people who have AK-47, AK-49 invading them from outside. And the military that is supposed to be defending me against those invaders is on the side of those invaders. Yeah. Otherwise, tell me why nobody has been arrested among the thousands and thousands of people that are known to be doing this. Yep. Even when you grab them by your own effort. Yep. Once the police gets there, once the army gets there, yes, they will turn the situation against you and say you are the troublemaker. I'm in my farm. Yes. Strangers come to the place and kill people. If a group of people mobilize and try to get hold of them, those people mobilizing to defend themselves are the ones that the security forces will descend upon. And so you heard when General Danjuma alleged, when he spoke very loudly to say that there is a collusion at the highest possible levels. When Buhari was president, it fell on me to lead a team that went to Washington to share with the U.S. that was at war with ISIS in the Middle East, that it was our president that was bringing in the ISIS from the Middle East to join forces with Boko Haram. They became ISWAP. And when people say Fulani, was it the people calling them out now that designated the Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria as the fourth most deadly terror group on earth?
Yes.
How long can we pretend that it is not so?
Let me ask a question here.
What is Fulani? He was commander-in-chief of that army that did not arrest any one person across the 8 years that he was in the place. Once they arrested before, he found a way to free them from the Kuje prison. You heard about Kuje prison break, where all the commanders of Boko Haram that were arrested in the previous administration were freed. None of them have been found to this day. There's a military unit, charged with overseeing security around that prison facility.
Yes.
The day before that prison break, that military unit was pulled out.
Yes.
They were sent away.
Yes.
Who else in Nigeria can order the movement of troops in that manner other than the commander-in-chief that lives there in Abuja with them? So this pretense must come to an end. We're talking about human lives, and no matter what anybody is thinking from anywhere else, we are talking about the lives of no less than 200 million people that are in grave danger.
Yes.
We're not talking about the poverty in which Nigeria has become the poverty capital. It is this same constitution, because I cannot generate electricity. That exclusive list has electricity generation and transmission. I have capacity to generate my electricity. Okay. The constitution says I cannot until the Fulani generate and give to me in the name of federal government.
So
I can do my roads.
Yeah.
The constitution says I cannot because it's now federal asset. Okay. The oil and gas of Niger Delta now belong to those who were given the resource, the assets as oil blocks. Just in consequence of the war, the war of genocide that they launched against us in 1967, they imposed this constitution as victory charter from that war. So they assisted such items. Nothing will change, and that is our quarrel with the politicians from the South and Middle Belt, without exception, because all the political parties subscribe to this constitution, all of them. And so we say, can we stop this stupid talk about who is going to provide better leadership amongst them? Let us do away with this constitution and go into a transition right now. Because if they are not coming along on that invitation, what will happen is that
if I may ask a question,
the owners of the land, and they've worked quietly we worked for 20 years before we raised the proposition by way of union dispute in 2020.
Okay.
If they will not come along, the owners of the land will topple this constitution, whatever it will take. This constitution will be taken down on the streets of Nigeria.
Okay.
The rest of the world will read the story and watch on TV how it will be managed. But we have had 24 years shouting the way I'm shouting now, talking to them house to house without exception. All of them without exception, including the church leaders that mobilize people to go and get PVC to vote in an election mandated by this constitution.
Okay.
Imagine what Chris Hani would do to the people who in 1988, for instance, would mobilize people to go and vote under the apartheid constitution that should have been done away with. Whatever Chris Hani will do with such a people is what we are going to do with this character that swear to defend and uphold this as basis of union. We have no union. The union we agreed upon was supposed to be a federation. The union we agreed upon was a secular state. We are no longer a federation because those constitutions that defined that our union got toppled since 1966. We have pleaded, we have quarreled, we have begged, we've gone to war. They insist that they were born to rule us. They do not believe in sanctity of life. They owe it a duty to their faith to kill me.
Okay.
They do not believe on the equality of men.
Sorry, Tony.
They owe it a duty to their own political successors to rule over me. That's their life vision. And I'm supposed to just obey so that Nigeria will be great. It's not going to happen. That Nigeria will go up in smoke, except something changes immediately. We're not talking about years or months. We have already endured it every day, to tell you how bad.
Right.
Every day we keep this constitution.
Just trying to get
no less than 5,000 lives are lost. You may think it's an exaggeration, but when you look at 200 million people who don't have healthcare, who don't have education, who don't have any facility that could come from government, yet they sell 3 million barrels of crude oil every day, sharing the money in the manner you see, and with no part of it meant for any citizen. Then the young people from that country running in every direction in this world.
Okay, so Tony, can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
And okay, that was a long time. Okay, and I hear and I feel your passion, because of course the situation in Nigeria is not being reported internationally. So I hear and I feel your passion, and I understand why you are so passionate, because it affected your life, affected your family, it affected your peoples. I completely understand, and I know that if I were living under those conditions, I would be equally as passionate. Okay, but I'm going to ask you, please, because I want to make sure this is an interactive occasion, truly a town hall opportunity, and I'm going to open up the phone lines and invite the audience, those who wish to engage and have genuine, honest debate with yourself on this point. Okay, there's much to discuss. So what I'm going to say to those of you who are listening, and have questions you wish to clarify, I'll give the opportunity to put your questions and listen carefully to the response. So if you're in Britain, in the UK, and you have access to a telephone, you can dial the following: 0203 289 6504. I repeat, you're in the UK and you wish to interact directly with Tony. This is the town hall opportunity.
Yes, I'm
Call 0203 289 6504. Okay. If you're international and you are listening in and you wish to interact with us, you remove the first zero. So it's plus 44 3289 6504. Okay. Now, please don't hold back. Don't wait till the last few minutes to call. Okay. You've heard the passion of the man, because he feels it. He who feels it knows it. That's a good saying. Yeah. He who feels it knows it. Okay. All right. So I see on the chat, if you are viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, the chat facility is open. Okay. And if you wish to pose a question via the chat, I invite you to do so. And I see Webino, Bamia, I see you there, and hello to you as well. Okay. And if you have a question, you can pose a question to Tony via the chat facility. Okay. Now, Tony, I'm going to ask another question, but I'm going to ask you, please, if your question could be a little shorter, your response a little shorter. Okay. Okay. It's all right. We hear you and we feel your passion. Okay. But I want to ensure those who are a little tentative, there are quite a number of people who are somewhat tentative. They're always tentative because you are a strong personality. And you know, when we have strong African men, oh my gosh, you know, the others become a little shy. Okay, rather shy. So we want to give them an opportunity, an opening for them to feel they're able to put questions. And I want to emphasize, all questions are relevant. You will not be shouted down. Okay, I want to say this to you. So let me, if I may, Tony, whilst they are gathering their energies, gathering their confidence to ask questions of you, because I'm a politician, you see, so I'm comfortable, you see, with strong personality. But I realise that the rest of the world do not share my personality traits. A question for you, though.
Yeah.
You've described you've described the situation in Nigeria. You've described the areas where much of the killings are occurring, and you've also described why local politicians are not yet at this point supporting the campaign. But I was struck by your note that the landowners, the Hausa communities, are in support of Ninus. Okay. Can you just tell us a little bit more about it? Because I've spoken to a number of Hausa and Fulani people since our last transmission. Can you just explain why they will support the Ninus campaign and support the transition from the constitution to a new constitution? Why would they support it?
Our issues are the same.
Okay, explain.
The Fulani, I'm sure you heard about. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you heard about the jihad that brought them to Nigeria in 1804. Mm-hmm. When Uthman Dan Fodio and his co-travelers entered this part of West Africa, mm-hmm. It was in a location called Gober. It's now Sokoto. To the extreme on the map you see, to the extreme about here. That this is where they entered from, and then overran all these places apart from the Kanuri that they now had to cut a deal with. So they are together. Now the lands, the indigenous people that had kingdoms, the Hausas had their kingdoms. Mm. They came in the same way you saw in Ekiti now, where they're beheading where they're killing the kings. Mm-hmm. They came in, killed the kings, pretending that the Islam there was corrupted, so they were coming with a purer version. So they came with Sharia, and they somehow managed to confuse and convince those they could convince. Mm-hmm. They took over the places, and those people, the Hausa, have been living. If we were living in, if the rest of us are living in one layer of bondage, the Hausas have been living in 3 layers of bondage. They don't even have any voice, and they adopted their local language as part of the deceit. They are the Fulani language. They call it Fufude. They don't teach anybody else that language. So they adopted the Hausa language for use across the entire northern Nigeria of the time. And so they presented themselves as a Hausa Fulani to all of us. But I can report to you that the Hausa are the lowest rung of the enslavement mechanisms of Nigeria, because they can't even speak on their soil. They dare not try to be governor. They dare not try to be senator. They dare not even lead prayer where a 9-year-old Fulani president renders every Hausa, no matter how established you are, impotent. You can't speak when that 9-year-old Fulani. That's how bad it is. Mm. And so they have not had the opportunity or to recover their land and be in self-determination. Their sovereignty was taken before the British got here in the 1860s. So their sovereignty was already confiscated by the Fulani. The British then, corralled everything into what became 1914. So as at 1914, they have been missing for 110 years in the scheme of things. That's the Hausa. And so the other people struggled to get onto the discussion table. Mm-hmm. And the Fulani kept them under lock and key.
Right.
Just sending them errands. And so today, with what we have done, because this is the first time too, that the other nationalities across Nigeria, all the nationalities that were corralled into that by British fiat in 1914, into this union of death that we now live in, they saw in our campaign an opportunity to also raise their own voices and reclaim their humanity from those who had confiscated it for over 200 years. So that's why they are.
Thank you,
in Ninas, they have observer status. Okay. At the time we came out with the force majeure in 2020, their leaders reached out to us. There's a Hausa self-determination, a very strong Hausa self-determination movement, and they have observer status in our midst. Okay. They are following, and they are part of what we are doing.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me particularly well. Maybe you could turn up your volume. There are times when I need to interject when you're speaking. Can you, if you could just turn up your volume so you can hear my voice sometimes? Yep. Yep. Okay. And thank you for that explanation. Now, as I said, what tends to happen here is those who say they wish to call and interact with you will hold back to the last few seconds, okay, to anticipate that. But I see that there are questions in the chat room here, okay. So I've got a person in the chat room who said, please, how do we take down the Constitution when the government is ready to kill us for opposing them? How can we do this when we are not armed? Now, that's the big dilemma. And Tony, I wanted you, in responding, just keep your response very concise, because there's a few other questions I want to follow up quickly. But I know that is the big dilemma for Nigeria. Is it possible to have a peaceful change, or would it require an armed change for armed forces? You tell me, Tony. In no more than 2 minutes, give us a response to that question. I believe that goes to the heart of the potential movement towards change. Is it peaceful, or is it through an armed struggle? You tell us. 2 minutes, please. 2 minutes.
There's no reason it cannot be peaceful. That's why we invested the quantum of time and energy and resources we have invested to make it peaceful. Because here, very simple situation. You can see the majority we're talking about. You can see the constitution that creates all the conditions they reject.
Understood.
This majority, we have organized them. There are some maps I sent to you. If you can pull up the one that has 4 colors, so that we can tell our people exactly where this matter has gotten to. The strategy for making it peaceful is the union reconstruction proposition that were placed on the table. Let those who reject these impositions of unitary Nigeria, let those who are the victims of this invasion, let those who are the victims of the asset confiscation that has happened in the Niger Delta, in the southern areas where the federal government took over everything. That's the Fulani pretending to acting in the name of Nigeria, become that federal government in a situation where the federation died long time ago. What NENAS has done across the last 24 years is to mobilize the victims of this monster to act together in rejecting that constitution as basis of union, and to now bring it to where things change, to say they won't go to another election under that constitution. They can actually dissolve the union. The Yoruba is not in any fight with the East. The East is not in any fight with the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt is not in any fight with anybody else. Everybody wants to be alive. Everybody wants to get the best opportunities, living in peace and developing with their own assets. The only people opposed to it are these invaders and the government, illicit federal government they have set up, and the willing tools from across the entire territories. And so, if we insist that this constitution cannot remain the basis of our union and of the democracy they pretend we have, then we stand on it. The right to self-determination is inalienable. The right to our sovereignty, our lands, cannot be negotiated. It's inalienable. Even the UN had told the world so since 2007. And so it is a process in which those who want this change can insist, and that was the crux of our 2020 constitutional force majeure, having built a countrywide consensus against this constitution, having built a countrywide alliance against those who are imposing it and killing people to keep it in place, we then said, time for the majority to reject the journey to election so that we can go to transition. We didn't ask those in government house to go home the same day. We say, like Frederick de Klerk did with apartheid in 1990, in one announcement, if there are people who are still willing on the side of those who are opposed, on the side of government, and they are willing to across our territories, who subscribe to this constitution, if they are not waiting, because what they're doing now is insisting on bloody showdown. That's what they're insisting on. But they are not going to have any chance. They are not going to have any chance against this majority that are now awake and alive to their right to self-determination and their right to their sovereignty. That Nigeria that is supposed to be our country, our project, is no longer our country, our project. The country is still there, but the federation died a long time ago. And the owners of the sovereignties that are, conscripted forcefully into Nigeria under this constitution, they are being guided to act together. You've listened to me, and I'm not alone. I'm talking about nationalities that you won't find any German that can come on your program and tell you it is not so. You won't find any Yoruba man that will come on this program, and I'm waiting for them to come now and tell us that our sovereignty has become the property of people sitting in Abuja, or that we can no longer recover our self-determination. This constitution will go down. The consequence of it is that the union is at an end. Even now, the union is already at an end. We're only trying to remove violence from it by inviting those who are opposed to this change to come now while they still can. Otherwise, if Nigeria snaps, I can refer us to YouTube now to go and see what will happen. We already drew a battle line. We said to the masses who are suffering and dying and being killed like wild animals today, we said to them, if you wake up one of these days and Nigeria snaps, you saw NSAS. If Nigeria snaps, use all your energy, anything that is within your reach. The enemy you have to look for in that commotion are those who subscribe to this constitution. Members of all the political parties who take us to they are the ones who have sustained this evil for 24 years. And some of them are already discussing 2027 and how they will go to election. We told them that our lives are at stake. And if they choose, even now, to go with the enemy, that we will have a fight on the street. We're not talking about guns now. I'm not a stranger to guns. We are the ones standing, we are the ones preventing those who have already become angry enough to carry arms. At the time we called Pronaco to tell you our attitude to arms. I'm not at all a stranger to guns. I went to the university from a military training institution. I should have been a military pilot. I'm exposed to weapons more than most of these people who are, just doing a Facebook kind of warrior, internet warriors. But I'm also the first. Ninas is also the first to say, look, we can use our heads to build a consensus that will solve this problem. Since we are all agreed that we can move from union of imposition to union of agreement, like we started with before the interjection. And so the ones who were already carrying arms, by the time we call Pronaco, the Yoruba, the police in Nigeria could not operate in Yoruba land because there was an organization called OPC, led by Gani Adams. The police had to cover their uniform to get to their office because OPC said Yoruba land, the security of Yoruba land cannot be entrusted, cannot be left in the hands of people who do not wish Yoruba well. And they raised a fight that became, a gun fight on the streets of Yoruba land, 6 states of Nigeria, including Lagos and Ibadan that until Obasanjo came. Obasanjo had to find a way to, placate them and get them to work with the police. In the Niger Delta, Asari Dokubo and Niger Delta Volunteer Force put the Nigerian military to flight before Avengers and men came. You heard about them. We are the ones who went around to all those armed organizations and told them, please, let us work with something that can solve this problem. If the system refuses, I can assure you, we will stand up, we will dress back and see how they will fare against the people who are fed up with them.
I understand you, Tony. I'm going to ask you to keep your responses more concise. Okay. It's okay. What it is that there are questions embedded in your that are stimulated by part of your answers, which I need to get to. I note that I'm receiving some messages that some people are experiencing difficulty getting through to us on the phone lines. Okay, which is what I expected might happen with this session. We tend to have these curious problems. So those of you who are having difficulties, and I have my alternative contact details. If you send a message through to me, I will give you an alternative means to contact the studio. Okay, so those of you who are experiencing difficulty getting through to us on the telephone line, if you contact myself, I'll give you an alternative method to contact the studio. Okay, again, this is not unexpected. I expected, with a powerful personality such as Tony, I expected to have a technical problem or two. Okay, it is not unusual. This is not unusual, which is a clear indication to a much wider issue that impacts our community. Nevertheless, I want to give out the number again and say again, if you have difficulty, just send a message through to me on the YouTube or Facebook chat. That appears to be working without any problem. If you're in the UK, you dial this number 0203 289 6504. If you are international, you simply remove the first zero and it's +44 23289 6504. I repeat, if you're international, you remove the first zero, so it's +44 203 289 6504. And this is a Skype number. So if you are a Skype member, you can dial worldwide this number free of charge. It only costs the data that you use. Okay. All righty. Now then, Tony, so as I said, you are passionate and I understand it. Okay. But there are a series of questions I really want to get out of yourself, because it's quite relevant. I see that we've got someone on the line there, but it's not soft. Interesting problem we're experiencing this morning. It's what I anticipated. We'll have problems on the phone line. Don't you worry, Tony. It's what I expected. And I see number ending 5993. I do apologize. Could you try again? Please try again. And I've got another caller in the studio. Let's see if I can bring this caller into the studio. Stay right there, Tony. We'll get him in. Oh, good morning, caller. Oh, it's good morning, Glenroy Watson. Good morning to you, Glenroy. Can you hear us all right? Oh, your volume. We can't hear you. We can't hear your volume. No, we still can't hear you. Your volume is not on. Your volume. It's your sound. Just check your sound. You seem to be muted. Don't you worry. So whilst Glenroy is doing this, let me ask the caller with number ending 5993. Please try again. Caller with number ending 5993 to call again. Glenroy, can you sort out your sound? Let me check what you're saying here. You're not able to unmute. Well, you're now inside the studio, Glenroy. There should be a chat facility available to you there. Just put your question via the chat facility. You're not able to unmute. And the caller with number ending 5993, if you wish to try again. Let's see if we can get overcome your technical problem. This is what I expected. So, Tony, I'm going to ask you, please. I'm going to ask a question, but you no more than a minute to respond, please. Just help us to keep the momentum proceeding. Right. I've taken on board your very detailed response to my last question on the support from the Hausa community. I think you understand. What I want to do is how to achieve transition. What I'm trying to understand, and I've been reading avidly both Ndidi's articles and, of course, articles produced by Nunes and indeed other political parties, particularly the Labour Party, Peter Obi's party. Okay, notwithstanding your qualification is its description that the Constitution is fine as it is. Okay, but politics is politics. Let me assure you. Okay, okay, politics is politics. Okay,
not at the expense of human blood, human life, like you have seen. It's easy to sit in faraway place and discount the lives of 50,000 people that will die because you want to be governor. We're not going to accept
I understand.
That kind of politics cannot. That kind of
politics must go down with those who
reject. I'm very careful my words. Politics is politics. Right. Politics reflect the contradiction that exists amongst the peoples. Yeah? There's many contradictions, okay? And being a politician, navigating those contradiction is a hazardous exercise, and that's to put it very mildly. But if I may, just to pursue yourself, what I'm trying to gauge, and maybe yourself or indeed you may wish to answer this, is the level of support you have within the Senate. Yep. Trying to gauge if a proposal, if a resolution was put forward in the Parliament, okay, what do you believe the level of support, if there was to go to, let's say, a referendum on the Constitution, what level of support do you believe you could command as of today? And please,
I understand you. Mm-hmm. That's why at times it looks like the answers are extended. Mm-hmm. We do not need even one senator. One.
Okay.
We do not need any. That Senate is a product of this Constitution. Right. They are sitting on our sovereignty.
Fair enough.
Very clear-minded, because we have engaged them across the last 4 years. Hold on.
Forgive me for interrupting. Hold on, Tony. I've got a caller line. I want to take this caller, as we've been trying to take callers. This is a town hall opportunity. So let me take the caller, and we can turn to my question to you. Okay?
No.
Number ending 2775. Good morning to you. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can hear you, Councillor Martin.
Good morning to you.
And, good morning to Tony Nadi as well.
Good. Do you have a question, please? You have a question?
My question is not going to Tony Nadi, because let him continue doing what he's doing. I don't subscribe to what he's doing, but everybody have to understand that the team of Google to get what I'm looking for, which is Biafra, Tony Nadi is not offering it. So, but we're not going to be disruptive. We love life, and we want to share with everybody who love life the way we do. Mm-hmm. I just want this question to go to you, Councillor Martin.
Okay. Yes.
All this time we are shouting about Nigeria. We need change in Nigeria. Did you see how we are being shouted down, including in this radio? And somebody like me, I make it clear to you that Fulani kill people, Fulani is invader. When we talk publicly, and proudly we speak in a wide place so people can hear us. Mm-hmm. People were against what we were saying at the beginning. Today, people like, nobody is talking about people like us who started this fight. But however, you requested for Fulani to, when you invited Tony Nadi last time, after Tony Nadi's speech, Fulani people speak to you. Mm-hmm. And you said today Fulani to call. Did you see any Fulani people coming here? Mm-hmm. I want to let you know that Fulani came to West Africa to kill people and take over their land. What they are doing in Nigeria is what they do in other African countries, and this should continue. And I urge all African nations to ask what brings Fulani in their community, because Fulani must be sent back to Saudi Arabia. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Don't go yet. Because this is why Tony's here for the second time in 2 weeks. Okay? Because I understand what you described. Okay? So it's important this time to have a town hall session, an opportunity for the audience to interact. And you are right. At this juncture, despite the numerous conversations I've had with representatives of the Fulani and Hausa communities and some Yoruba, okay, they haven't called in yet. And look, I'm sure it's not because Tony is a very strong, passionate, authoritative African man. I'm sure that's not the case, okay? But what I want to do and assure them is that this is a safe space to have a genuine dialogue. Okay? The issues in Nigeria are real, and they are indeed a clear and present danger to all Nigerians. It is no doubt in my mind about that. And so my question to you back, and also to Tony, is this. Is the objective, of course, is peace and prosperity, respect for all. So we now need to reconfigure. Reconfigure the country. There is no doubt in my mind that is so. Okay. Have you, caller, and I'll put the same question to Tony and maybe Ndidi, okay, reached out to the Fulani people and sought a means by which you can enter into the term uses détente, genuine dialogue. Is there a place in Nigeria in which that dialogue is possible? Yep, go ahead.
I hear you, and you remember how many times I tried to let you know that we won't come to waste our time talking with deaf and dumb people. Oh. I say deaf and dumb because those who are talking about Biafra, the biggest setback that this campaign has suffered was from the criminals, the clear-minded criminals led by Nnamdi Kanu and his Simon Ekpa and all of those. Anywhere you hear the word Biafra in relation to what we are trying to do now, I can tell you that there are clear-minded criminals who are prepared to waste the blood of our people in their criminality. And why do I say so? Because we engage them. We engage them eyeball to eyeball, eyeball to eyeball. We did engage them. If you don't want us to speak about this, I have several things to do with my time today.
I know. And hold on a second.
The people talking Biafra, we sat down with them. There are 42 different Biafra organizations. You may not have heard about them. From Masob of Wazurike to the Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB that came in only 2013, we sat down with them one after the other, home and abroad, to say, what you seek. I'm a lawyer with specialty in that area. I've been involved hands-on with the very people that went to negotiate our independence. We have dressed back and we have a diagnosis that is comprehensive of why we're where we are.
Yes.
What you reject is the Nigeria of master and servant. What you reject is the Nigeria of lack of sanctity of that is where life is not sacrosanct because Fulani will kill in their Sharia. And so, how we can turn the situation? It is the Constitution that is the problem. It is the Constitution they impose on us. Our task to rescue ourselves from that bondage is to upturn that Constitution.
Yep.
Councillor, listen to me. Let me tell you what happened between us and them. Because we will not. If this matter comes to rifle show, they will be the first. They are the worst setback because in the Biafra they talk about what is the meaning of Biafra. They have no map to it.
If I may. Hold on a second.
I want to because we have spoken. We have spoken. I don't have time for this. This program might well be ended right now if we can't listen to ourselves.
Yep, I understand.
This program will be ended now. If we can't listen to ourselves, we're on the front line. They're in the safety of wherever they are. I'm in the place. The Fulani, Chancellor, I insist that you listen to me for a moment.
I've heard you. We've heard you. But spend me for a moment.
You can mute. This is your studio. This is your program.
Yeah.
If you don't want to hear what we have done, we have something we have come to share with the public. We cannot be wasting that time with charlatans that have never. They don't even understand that the Constitution is the problem.
Indeed. Maybe you can come in here. Because honestly, Tony,
I'm actually going to leave the program if we are not going to be allowed to answer the questions.
Okay. Can I be heard?
Tony, please hold on a moment.
Why did you bring that kind of madman into the studio? And you expect me to sit here and listen to stupidity?
Hold on a moment, Tony. Hold on. Now, I anticipated that there will be great passion here.
It's not a matter of passion.
Finished.
Can you give me 3 minutes?
Please, Tony.
Councillor Martin. Can you give me 3 minutes? I'm calm. I have no quarrel with him. I'm just talking about why our project is being debilitated by people who do not know anything about the issue they are canvassing.
But Tony, hold on a moment, please. Tony, please, hold on a moment. And Koda, hold on a moment, please. I'm aware. One moment, please, Koda.
My time is being wasted now. No. There are a whole number of people you do not know that are listening to this program. There are a whole number of people you do. The blood of those being shed in this place.
He wants to sit a place and people listen.
Now, could you just hold on just a second, please? Just hold on just a second. I've turned down everyone's mic so that I can speak. I understand the passion. I understand, but I've seen the evidence. Tony, please. I've seen the deaths. Please, Tony, we've given you plenty of time. I need to give others the opportunity to interact as well. Okay. I've seen the killings. I have people, residents in my political ward, with relatives in Nigeria who have reported the killings. I've seen it and I feel it firsthand. I see it and I feel it firsthand. And I know this goes right to the very core of our souls. But we need a way forward, a détente, a means by which dialogue is possible. And the caller on the line, I hear you. But we do not achieve our goal by shouting at each other. It remains for us to maintain our dignity here in public. So I want to limit responses to no more than 1 minute. This interview was supposed to complete after an hour. Okay, we've gone slightly longer. But I want to hear from the audience, and I'm going to ask Tony, please. I understand your passion, but I want your responses to be concise, please. And caller on the line. I want to come back to yourself for the moment, but I heard what you said. Nigeria will not be Nigeria unless there is genuine dialogue between the communities. Are we in agreement with that, first of all? Caller, can you hear us? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can.
Martin, you look at where the problem is coming here now, yeah? Tony Nagi is being too very, very aggressive. Number one is you pose a question, Tony, and Tony Nagi jumps into it. That is arrogant behavior. He shouldn't do that. He's not listening.
Yes.
You ask whether I have already tried to come to, communicate with people from Fulani. I have not responded. And he jumped in and started calling Namdekano criminal. Namdekano, he put in prison. You see here how we get angry with these people.
Yes.
You see how they behave.
I understand.
No,
Tony, hold on, Tony. They can't hear you yet, Tony. Tony, they can't hear you at the moment. They can't hear you, Tony. Indeed, maybe you can help us here. Tony, please. If you just hold on just a second, because this is a... Sorry, Tony, please. I'm saying to everyone, please, Tony, hold on a moment, please. What it is, this is a town hall session. This is where we hear what might be, and often is, questions and opinions to which we profoundly disagree with. Okay, that's the whole purpose of a town hall session, to hear the opposing side. Please, Tony, please, Tony. They can't hear you at the moment. Please, if you just bear with me for a moment, I will bring you back in. I completely understand your passion and the reason why you feel this way. So please, Tony, if I can just finish what I'm saying. Okay, if there's a lesson that I've learnt in my world of politics, okay, listening is a vital part of our success. Listening is a vital part of our success. So what I want to do, if I may, is not only to hear what are opposing positions, but receive concise responses. They have to be concise. You can't go on for 5-10 minutes as a response, okay? So I'm going to thank that caller for that question. I know there's another caller on the line. I'm wondering, first of all, if Glenroy Watson, who's in the studio, if you are able to both hear and see us now, Glenroy. Can you hear us?
I can see you, and I can hear you. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm not sure.
We can, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. I agree with you. I understand the passion that Tony is expressing, but this is talk radio, and unless we are able to manage the amount of contribution we make, then we will not hear anybody else. So I would agree with you. Could we limit that? I will limit mine and simply say that many of us are looking at Africa because of the interference of Europe to create the boundaries and borders to see if our people can unite.
Yes.
Can there be an African Union whilst people in Nigeria, especially, and I know it's not only Nigeria, lots of other places, are seeking to create small little countries. I know it's not small, but what I mean in relation to the continent. So is there scope within Tony and other people in Nigeria's appreciation of African unity? And if we can get the continent to unite, perhaps there's a hope for those of us, I'm no longer living in the diaspora, but those Africans in the diaspora who feel even more disattached from the continent. So is African unity within the concept of those people arguing, fighting about dividing up Nigeria? Thank you, Mr. Motivate.
Okay, I stay right there, but I know what Tony's response will be. That is that if there are communities in the country who are not willing to work in unity with you, then of course the constitution would need to be reformed to apportion power and land to those communities to whom have designated their own form of unity. But I'm going to let Tony, if possible, no more than 1 minute, but I'm limited for time. And I know it's difficult, but no more than a minute to respond to the essence of Glenroy's question. And he's, of course, a Pan-Africanist, and you know the Pan-Africanists, we want to achieve African unity. For unity, a family that stays together, grows together. And therefore,
I don't know how to get that.
so please, respond to him.
The basis of unity is what we call unity of purpose. It is that unity of purpose that will bring that unity.
Yes.
In this project, we've gone from community to community right across Nigeria. We have sat down eyeball to eyeball with the Fulani that are causing the Muhammad Buhari. In the last program, I called his name, and I'm calling it again. Muhammad Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came to Prunaku 2005, 2006. Sayed Abubakar, that is Sultan in Sokoto, was part of the Fulani. We put a plan on the table. Gentlemen, here is the problem. Here are our propositions for solving it peacefully. From that time to now, they hung on to the constitution they imposed on us, and then they went and used our monies to buy more guns to point at us. And that consultation goes far beyond Nigeria, because the same problems we are trying to solve here is what happened to Congo, is what happened to Sudan, is what happened to all the other places. We've reached out to all of those places to say, gentlemen, let us look back at Berlin Conference and the boundaries we set between us. What was the intention of the enemy? What are our own projections and what's our own vision for ourselves? These are the things we have been doing. And if we have a plan on the table that can solve the problem, and you don't have any plan that you can bring to the table other than just to cause confusion from afar, then it's a waste of everybody's time to think that unity is going to spring from the skies. There's work to be done.
Yes.
It is that unity of purpose. If anybody has anything better than what we have in black and white that have been taken to the UN, taken to the US, taken to all the states, South Africa, everywhere that this problem has to be addressed, we have calmly worked our way to the table with the actors, the main actors, even the people who are opposed to us. We go to them, we reach out to them to say, gentlemen, this thing you seek, this is what it is. This is where we are. This is how we can get to that destination. Do you have a better plan? That's where the problem comes.
Thank you.
They have no plan.
Okay.
But they are messing up the things that have been done.
Thank
and
you.
We've run out of patience.
I understand.
Having to waste further time on the ones who are still in that dishonesty and that blindness and darkness of mind.
I understand you, Tony. Thank you, Tony, for that response, and thank you for keeping it concise. And Corda, I think that is the response. It takes two to tango. It does take two to tango. I think that's a term that most people can understand. If you wish to coordinate an effort, both parties must be in agreement that they want peace and prosperity. Okay.
Totally agree.
And subjugation. Okay, is that okay? Then why I'm going to
It has to be a meeting of mind. It has to be a meeting of mind. But, Tony has an address, and I appreciate that it's a difficult one. Yes. The problem of our European post-Berlin boundaries and borders. But let's leave it for another time, Tony. I'm sure you and I will talk again. Solidarity, Summit.
Solidarity indeed. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, John. I've now going to caller with number ending 2775. Good morning to you. Can you hear us all right?
No, I am the one who called.
Oh, you are still there. You are still there. Good.
Councillor Martin, thank you for your interest in issues relating to Nigeria. I am a youth. I am a youth. And when I speak, you should listen to me and know my problems. Tony Nadi cannot solve problem of Nigeria, but I can do that. Nigerians, Gray Romson is talking about unity of Africa. I want to take Gray Romson that there is no any country where Biafran people, Igbo people are not there. We want to be in peace with everybody. The people I hate in entire West Africa is only one tribe, the Fulanese, because they kill people and they will never stop. And I don't want to marry them. I don't want to be around with them. Did you see them today talking? How do you think you can make peace with this sort of people who are interested in taking over the land? Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, and Kola, I just want to say this before Tony comes back in. Look, it's difficult to disagree with any words, with anything that Tony described. But I've seen the efforts. I've seen the efforts that have been made, and there have been truthful efforts to interact with other communities, and the Fulani clearly are an issue. And I hope that there's a representative or two who I know are viewing this live transmission. I would really encourage them to interact with us live now whilst the opportunity presents itself. Okay, I'm also conscious that there are members of the Labour Party in Nigeria who have reached out. I would encourage them also to call in. And I think whilst it is possible that Tony's passion may be so strong that others are hesitant to interact, okay? What I want to keep emphasizing, that for the town hall opportunity to work, okay, we must listen to each other, okay? But I will ask for all questions and responses to be concise, no more than a minute or so long, although I've got very little time in the remaining of this show, unfortunately. I've got to work out how best to optimize the time we have to ensure that all views are heard and responded to. So, caller, I'm going to thank you for your call and for you being loyal.
Lastly, Councillor, for the interest of people that listen to Galaxy, I'm a member of this radio. I love Galaxy more than anything. I want you to tell Tony Nadi to stop insulting people. This is the arrogancy of Igbo elite, and the people we came to remove. Both those in politics and those who want to join politics now, we want to remove them. They don't understand what the word is talking about. They are very rude. Thank you, Councillor Martin. Okay,
all right, okay. Thank you. And it is not Tony, forgive me here, this one. As I said, when I'm in politics, I'm criticised quite often. I assure you, okay? I'm assured. And of course, words matter, okay? And I appreciate the strengths of feeling here, okay? And you've used some very strong language for good reasons, okay? But of course, the majority of those who are viewing and will view both the live and indeed the recordings are ordinary Nigerians, okay, who are not schooled in the art of oratory presentations, okay, and are therefore more sensitive to our use of words. Well, I'm very diplomatic, okay? I'm very diplomatic. Now, I'm almost out of time, and before I continue, those who are listening to us on the Galaxy Asiwi.net network, okay, I will disconnect from that network shortly, and I'll hand over to Empress Shanice, the solutions finder. But I will continue, with your permission, Tony and Didi, just a few minutes longer with yourselves, because I've yet to ask. There are quite a number of questions I wanted to put to you, to which I would encourage you to provide sort of concise, no more than minute-long responses, just so that there are some important elements in your dialogue that I need to flesh out a bit, just so that there is, to avoid misunderstanding. So first of all, those of you who listen to us via the GalaxyFreeway.net network, I will disconnect from you now, and we'll continue this transmission live via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Mixcloud. Okay, so until next strong to Galaxy, next strong, I'll be here. There you are. So let's take that one. Now, Tony, if I may, let's come back to where we are as regards to the progression. You may have noted in the run up to the show, I produce a intro video. Okay, one of these slides on that video discusses transition, how to achieve transition. Okay, you note in the chat there is concern that how is that possible if we don't have weapons? Okay, your response, of course, is that the only way forward is through peace and dialogue. Okay, and I believe you are sincere in that statement. My earlier question focused on the number of votes you have in the Senate, but your response was that those who are in power have signed up to the Constitution. Okay. Now, I find that a bit something of a dilemma, and Didi will understand what I'm about to say. Here in Britain, we had a disruption caused by the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, who were seeking to retrieve from Britain what is currently called Northern Ireland, okay, or the provinces, if you like, if you're from Scotland. Okay, and in the 70s here in Britain and 80s, London was being bombed. In fact, there were bombs in major cities across Britain. Okay, the situation became so bad that it was not permitted for members of the IRA, their voices, to be heard on British TV or radio. In short, they were a proscribed organisation. In other words, they were an illegal organisation. We now know that throughout that period, the British government was in dialogue with the IRA, seeking peace and prosperity for Northern Ireland. Okay. I recall reading a very detailed article in The Economist magazine on this one, and I was struck by the wisdom displayed by British politicians. On one hand, saying that the IRA was a proscribed organisation, you're not allowed to hear their voices and so on, but yet, on the other hand, they were in negotiations with the IRA. Okay, or in their political eyes, they're referred to as Sinn Féin. Today, Sinn Féin is in control of Northern Ireland. Now, therefore, it is possible to have dialogue with the most repulsive people. Okay, it is possible, and I want to take our dialogue one stage further. Therefore, okay, but I hear your passion, and I understand it, and I feel it, and I've been with families who have suffered, who have suffered firsthand. If there is no dialogue, you're actually saying that it's only possible to refer to an arms race in Nigeria. Is that right? Is that the final conclusion? And if you could respond no more than a minute, because there's one other question I want to put to you. Yeah.
Councillor Martin, if you can read out item 3 in that 5-point proposition you read that you pasted the last time. So you can read the answer from what you already have. Do you have it handy?
Oh, let's see. I will read it. I'll look for it, but keep talking.
Yes.
I'll see if I can find it for you.
What we put on the table since December of 2020 for how to achieve this in dialogue with everybody present, including the government and the National Assembly people. We say this constitution is the bone of contention.
Mm-hmm.
And what we need to do to resolve all the matters, including the killings and every other thing that has gone wrong, begins with that constitution to be put aside, like the apartheid constitution that had to be put aside in 1990, and the discussion that led to new constitutional arrangements undertaken by CODESA, while those in government house, Freddie de Klerk and co remained in government house. That was what we proposed to them, to say, our sovereignty has not been ceded to you because you were elected to come to make law. Lawmaking and constitution making are totally different. Mm-hmm. The contention here is that we have not made any constitution. The constitution we made have been toppled by people who now are killing us to take over the lands now described by this constitution.
Okay.
And the issue is item 3 of our 5-point proposition is that even with the election that has happened, we can transform the outcome, the controversial outcome, into a transition that accommodates those who are already in government house. President, National Assembly, governor, let them all remain there on a transitional basis, mm-hmm. so that the owners of the sovereignty will go to another room to discuss how the Yoruba will come as Yoruba with their sovereignty. Yes. The Ijaw will come as Ijaw with their sovereignty. Yes. This was what we had done in 2005 in that conference that the government refused to,
if I may talk.
Yes.
This point. Now, this is, I put it, it's on the screen right now. Express commitment to suspend further national elections under the 1999 Constitution. The untenable outcome of the 2023 presidential election must now be transformed into an immediate transitioning for reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Okay?
Precisely.
The questions at this point is levels of support within the country. Okay, what level of support do you have to transition from the damaged constitutional basis on which the country is operating? I'm trying to gauge level of support. I hear your passion on the issue, but I'm trying to gauge level of support. I've had contact with members of the Labour Party. I've had contact with members of the Nigerian Labour Party. I've had contact with the Fulani communities who have failed to communicate on today. But anyway, I'll deal with that another time. Nevertheless, I'm trying to gauge level of support. Okay, you tell us.
I can assure you that no less than 80%, it could be 90%, but it won't be any one item short of 80% mm-hmm. of those you call Nigerians
mm-hmm.
who are completely on the side of let's do away with this bad arrangement.
Right.
And that support can only transform into change mm-hmm. if the few, the minority that sit in Abuja sharing the blood of other people, if they will have mercy on themselves, because that crowd of people, I'm sure in the last 1 week alone, I'm sure you've heard about people bursting out to the streets
yes.
across the length and breadth of Nigeria.
Yes.
We are standing in the middle, telling them, let it not all be set ablaze. Mm-hmm. Let us just insist that transition is the way to go now. When our quarrel is not with those in government house, the president and the senator and the governor. No. They are way below the issues being discussed. Okay. Like the owners of a company. This discussion we are having now mm-hmm. is between the owners of the sovereignties that have been hijacked by Nigeria through this constitution. And like a company owned by Martin and Ndidi and mm-hmm. somebody else, mm-hmm. you hire a management. The government is the hired management of the enterprise Nigeria. The constitution is the memo and article, mm-hmm. which is the exclusive preserve of the owners of the business to craft among themselves, to form their company. You hear about memo and you hear about articles. The memo forms the company. The memo is where Martin and Ndidi and commit themselves to forming XYZ Limited. The articles is where they now come to describe how they're going to relate in XYZ Limited. You understand? It's as simple as that. Now, the constitution that created 36 states and 704 local government areas that becomes the basis of representation in Abuja is what we are rejecting. Our sovereignty was hijacked at the point, under gunpoint, by people who imposed that constitution. And we said we have endured it for so long. Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. Killings are happening on a scale that everybody is seeing from everywhere in the world. Can't we come inside a room, around a table, to examine why it is so and what we can do? Here is our proposition for how to approach it. We've not asked anybody to leave the room. We're saying, let us acknowledge. You go back to item 1 of what you just read, item 3 of. You see now where we say the first order of business is to acknowledge that we have this problem. The second proposition is to expressly commit to solving the problem, because that's the point at which the attention of everybody comes back. Those who are pointing guns at everybody, those who are blowing up pipelines, those who are planning to do all kinds of riotous things. It is when you say we are now going to solve the problem. If that announcement is made today, this Nigeria that seems to be totally irredeemable, if that announcement is made today, 50% of all the problems will, in less than 1 month, go away on their own. And so we are saying that you are talking about level of support. The risk, those people who cling tenaciously to this fraud as basis of union, they may think that having a few guns like they do have will give them control of the situation, because those who are being tormented, those who are being killed, they are organizing too. What Ninas is trying to avoid is a situation where those who are being tormented will burst by themselves because we have identified the people who are doing this to them. Anybody who can swear to defend and uphold that constitution is the first target in the if law and order breaks down. We already made a broadcast directing that majority on what to do. We called it drawing the battle line. Drawing the battle. If you go to YouTube now, you will see that we have instructed them, because we have worked with them community to community. There's no ethnic group that is left out. The sovereignties we are talking about, what you call Nigeria now, is a collectivity of sovereignties. Yoruba will be a country of 50 million people. Why do you treat them as if they don't exist? Because you go to gather some people in beer parlor and take them to Abuja to say they want to speak for the people who are standing in Ibadan, Lagos, for what they see happening to them. They are being killed. You are not interested in that, in where you sit. And it is in their name that you sit there. So a line is drawn that let them act, because there's only one fact that we had a union that we agreed should be a federation. We had a union we agreed should be a secular state. We no longer have that federation because people toppled the arrangement and tied us up, and we've died enough. We've been impoverished enough, and we have organized. We have been more patient. You may think Tony is impatient. Tony does not want to hear anybody else. Let's go back to the people the ones who were talking Biafra. We put a map on. We put a map on the table. We put a map on in 2013. Council, listen to me, because this matter will come up 10,000 times. Every day you come, somebody who is ignorant will jump in and disrupt the program like you have seen today. You saw why I was reluctant to have anything to do with them, because they are not reasonable in what they do. We sat down with their leaders. We sat down there with their leaders. One after the other. We did not. There was, like I told you, there are 42 different Biafran organizations. You may have heard about IPOB. There was MASOP. There was Zionist movement. We identified the people who were doing this, because we were already on this matter before they came. If I may,
I need to ask a question, because you're right. D says here, constituent peoples of Nigeria to work out the modalities for transitioning, which is what you're discussing. And I completely agree. It has to be the peoples that work out the methodology and the modalities, if you like. Okay. Now then.
Let me also explain that, so that, because everything they are throwing up is to avoid that thing you just read now.
Absolutely.
What happened in 1914? What happened in 1914 at the time the British, by their own fiat, brought Nigeria together was that they avoided the owners of the sovereignties. They came by way of the treaties that began with trading treaties and then became protection treaties. But at the time they had gotten all those treaties from various parchments of territories, they now went without consultation with any of those territories to combine it into what became Nigeria in 1914. So they avoided the Yoruba, they avoided the Igbo, they avoided the Igbo. So there's this Nigeria that now, became their project. Anyway, some of our own fathers, began to engage them, and it became what they call independence in 1960. After 10 years of discussions of what that country that they have put together will look like after they've left. So that federation model in which the constituent components were the owners of the economic assets, they were the owners of the right to work those assets and everything that will make life meaningful for them. They identified the items, the subject matters that federal government will be doing on their joint behalf, and how to finance it. It was only 15% of their income, their earnings, that they will contribute to that federal government for those items they selected for common management. That was what was toppled, and these territories now lost their sovereignty and their economic assets and the right to even live on those territories. To these people who have now reinforced themselves by the constitution they imposed on us, that make it unlawful, make it everything wrong for us to even touch any corner at all. You understand?
If I may,
we're insisting now. NINAS is insisting, after 24 years of day and night organization, NINAS is insisting that first order of business should put this constitution aside.
Okay.
Keep nominal governance running, pay salaries of civil servants, pay the police to work and get the costs running. In that period, we go to this discussion. It must be the owners of those who could be countries of their own. If Nigeria were to collapse today, Nigeria is closer to collapsing than anything else, except sanity returns in time enough. And those who are watching from afar, hoping that they're thinking and wishing, genuinely too, that Nigeria, the great country, will remain. That Nigeria is the Nigeria defined by this constitution. That Nigeria you want to see remain. We are struggling to keep it alive, but we are struggling to make it something that can actually remain. But under this constitution, that Nigeria, when you listen to me, you're talking about passion now. And the passion is inconsequential in the matter. We're talking about facts. If the fact is that I am no longer, my life is now endangered on a 24-hour basis. If the reality is that my economic assets now belong to people who are invading me to keep it permanently, if the truth is that the constitution they have imposed, they put my signature, not only did they impose this constitution, they put our signature as the authorization for this damnation. Right. They said we, the people, made it.
You want change. You want change.
Yes. The change we want, we have defined. The processes by which it can be attained, we have placed on the table. They are not engaging it. They are pointing guns at everybody, trying to criminalize everybody. And what we have told them is that the owners of those sovereignties are going to proceed unilaterally with the retrieval of their sovereignties. That is what they're going to get from what they're doing. And we still continue to invite them even now. If that item 3 you read, we said, yes, election has come and gone. Ordinarily, it should have been 4 years of waiting for how changes will come, corruption will be beaten down, currency will rise up, and all of that. We say, look, let us not, because this constitution already settled what will happen. Corruption will grow, the killings will escalate, the poverty will increase, and all of that. Why don't we come to common sense and common position and accept that this is on this? You cannot continue to mock when you leave the tap on. The tap from where these atrocities are flowing upon Nigeria and Nigerians. This condition. Can we go to this transition now? If we're not going to this transition, a majority of more than 80%, Yoruba will stand in Yoruba land. and challenge anybody who comes to Yoruba land in the name of Nigeria, whether you are police or army or whatever you call yourself, they will charge you out of their space. That is what their self-determination entails. If you have come to kill them, they owe a duty to themselves to defend themselves and kill you instead. If you take the economic assets, they owe it a duty to their generations to recover those economic assets which you took by this constitution. That is where we are now. A choice has to be made by all parties.
If I may, Tony, forgive me. I'll try not to interrupt. I'm trying to give you as much time as you need, but I've just got to make sure this is interactive. I understand there's much to say, and we don't have enough time. There is an interesting dynamic here. There are some strong personalities who were happy to interact with myself between now and the last show, who have not participated today, unfortunately. Okay, some will say I've given you too much time to speak and therefore squeeze out others. I disagree with that. There are opportunities for those to call, and the phone lines have been open all this time, or to contribute via the chat. But nevertheless, I can see that if we are to make progress, there is going to be an enormous amount of giving and taking. I've learned in my career, political career, that often those who most wish to influence are the most resistant to your influence. Okay? But you have no choice to influence. Therefore, it provides an almost impossible situation. But I've found in these circumstances, there has to be a shared goal. Okay, and why I refer to our families, peace and prosperity for all. That's the objective that all Nigerians, whatever description you apply, that has got to be the greater objective. Okay, and clearly the current situation undermines the creation of peace and prosperity. So all parties are losing. Okay? So we want to change that environment. Ninus wants to change that environment. Okay, and therefore it is incumbent on all peoples of Nigeria to come together in common aim and common purpose. Wow. Tony Nanti, you have been powerful today. I need to get you in the same place, the same room. Maybe that's what I need to come over to you, or you come over to me. We're in the same place, I believe. Okay, because there is still much. You've described a great deal, but there's still much I need to interact with you. There's much that the peoples need to understand, and it does take us a different voice, a different style to ensure the message has finally landed. It resonates with them. But I want to thank you for your presentation today. I'm going to give you maybe just 1 minute just to conclude your presentation today, and just explain how members of the audience can contact Ninus if they wish to become a part of the campaign. I've got some detail, but explain how they can contact you and the campaign.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Everything we have done, we can find, and what our proposition is as of today in 2024, we can find on the website www.ninasvoice.org. www.ninasvoice.org. If you get on YouTube, you can also on the YouTube channel called Nina's Voice. You will find no less than 330 broadcasts in which we are addressing various components and aspects of this. You only need to pick randomly any 2, 3, 5, depending on the time. Any one you pick will lead you to wanting to look at others, because we are talking about the lives of 220 million people hanging in the balance right now that can be saved or wasted, depending on what everybody does. Our only demand, what we insist on now is that we come down from our high horses and go to sit down to look at our situation. But it appears there are people who insist that this matter is not up for discussion. Okay. And even those who have gone to contest election, Peter Obi is not anything to be compared with the ones who ran with him. He was better than them. He got more votes than them. It was the alliance we built of the South and Middle Belt that went ahead to say, look, okay, let us bring one of our own who will listen to us and do what needs to. But the same Peter begins his campaign by saying that the constitution that is given is not the problem. And we have been engaging him since 2012, for goodness sake. We have been engaging him since the time he was governor in Anambra State. Chinua Achebe did invite our people to come to listen to this same thing where we are still struggling to get, and that's why at times I get reluctant to even come to discuss in the kind of setting where people who have had 20 years of opportunity to examine what we are saying refused. They refuse to examine it. So they go with what they think we are saying. It's just working with their own conjectures, and they create all kinds of problems by refusing to look at what is on. Bring your alternative.
That's right.
Look at what we have had. Bring your alternative. Councillor Martin, what will be your recommendation for starting point in this matter? Is it not to examine written propositions? Absolutely. That's what we're asking them to do. That's what they're refusing to do.
Absolutely.
And they think they're going to shout us out of the place. We will ignore them. We're on ground in the place. The constitution is, we have already defeated the constitution because we have woken up the owners of the sovereignty. Okay. Anybody who doesn't understand that is going to learn the hard way. We don't want.
We're now out of time.
Necessarily block through.
Okay, Tony, that's what out of time. In a passion, and I hear you, but nevertheless, politics, the parlay, as it were. Okay, it is incumbent upon us to interact with those who are most resistant. If I may, I'm going to give them.
We have exhausted our patience in interacting with them. There's something called collateral damage.
Please.
Councillor, listen.
At the time.
There's something called collateral damage.
I know.
When you have 100 things that need to be saved, if it comes to where you have to sacrifice 5 or 10,
I understand.
To be able to save 90 or 95.
I want to get
the people you are talking about now fall into that category of the ones who have already determined that it's better to sacrifice them to save the balance.
Thank you.
You are talking as if we must start with them. We are finished with them. If they come before it's too late, no problem. But if they stay where they are, they deal with what they get.
Thank you, Tony. I want to give the last word to the person who's been most quietest this evening, or just this afternoon, and Didi. And Didi, I'm just going to give you the last man who's been speaking for some time now. I'm actually out of time, but I wanted to hear your voice, if only for a minute, just to conclude, so that I can close this show. It's like anticipated, but we need to work out a methodology in which we are able to get this communication out in bite-sized chunks. But I'm going to give the last minute to you, Ndidi.
Okay. I actually have about 5 minutes to say, but what I want to say is this.
Please.
Those who know me, to know how much weight to give to what I'm going to say, I'm a retired Metropolitan Police officer, so I know what I'm saying. Ninas has been doing this job for 23 years. The Biafrans are criminals, and I'm saying that as a British police officer and as a British citizen. What they have been doing is they've been copying the stuff that Ninas puts on the website, and then they start screaming referendum, start screaming the things that Ninas has been saying, but they've done no work. You can Google it, you will see that IPOB does Photoshop. They are criminals. It's only because they've not been taken to court that you see them free. If they had been in England doing what they're doing, they would be a violent street gang. And they have been a great disturbance, not to Tony Nnadi, but to me and to Igbo people and to my nieces and nephews and that generation, because they have been the ones stopping us from getting free from Nigeria with their lies and their Photoshop. So IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa, all of them are criminals, and they are a violent street gang, and we're going to deal with them after everything has been dealt with. That's number one. The Fulani are the criminals in this as well. They are Black Arabs. They see themselves as Arabs, not as Africans. And that is why they are all over Africa causing troubles, including in Nigeria. So they look like you and I, but they see themselves as Arabs first. And they've been using a lot of foolish lies, like it's farmer herdsman clash. Anybody who wants to believe that kind of thing, I don't know how old you are, but it is impossible for you to be in your business, whether you're a farmer or a teacher or a politician and a killer comes to you and you're going to call it a clash. So the Fulani are doing they're doing a conquest agenda in Nigeria and all over the Sahel. In fact, I'm going to be publishing an article, possibly on Tuesday. Let me see the title. It's going to be "The Drivers of the Fulani Conquest Agenda Are Indigenous Politicians. Here is How." What the Fulani did, it started in the early 1960s. You can go and get a book by Captain Ben Moulier called The Five Majors. They even started a jihad way back in the mid 1960s. That's why we had the first coup, first revolution to stop the Fulani. And it didn't work. That's why they're still killing us till today. So that's what I want to say. I want to say thank you to Tony.
Thank you very much.
I want to say thank you to Tony because he has to listen to all the families who are bereaved. Me, I've decided I'm not going to listen to how the Fulani are butchering people. Tony has to listen to them. So he comes with passion because he has knowledge and he hears the first-hand accounts of the survivors of what the Fulani are doing. And that is all I have. And I think you need to get us back for another show because this is too important. And it's not about passion, it's about truth and the things that Tony has to face as the spokesman of NINAS. And I say thank you very much, Tony, for being our champion and our warrior. Thank you.
It was important to hear this perspective. I do want to invite the Fulani representative to speak for themselves. Okay, because a lot of evidence, it's difficult to refute the evidence you put forward, but I've had the opportunity to interrogate and test its integrity. And I find that there is very little in what you describe that's inaccurate. It is completely accurate. And I'm sad to say it is accurate. We need a way forward. And I think the 5-point plan is the correct way forward. I've not seen an alternative plan that achieve a similar outcome between the communities. And unless there are alternatives, I say to those who I've spoken to since the last show, you need to put up something, otherwise shut up, he says, you need to put up. Thank you, both of you. Thank you, both of you. You made for a most interesting podcast today, which will resound across the internet for some time and will stimulate dialogue and discussion. Some of it's complimentary, some not so complimentary, but without dialogue, without debate, there is no progress. So I welcome your contribution to this progress towards a more fair and he says unified Nigeria. Whatever guise that takes, it is definitely true. Nigeria needs a new constitution. That much I am 100% in concordance with yourself. How we achieve that new constitution is the issue. Okay, but thank you both of you. Thank you both of you, and I hope you both feel that you had the opportunity to fully express the viewpoint that NINAS has outlined both here through your platforms and through your discussions in the country towards a better future where peace and prosperity will reign. I want to thank both of you for your contribution today, and I say to you, stay well. Stay well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, people, that was quite an experience, huh? And it's quite obvious to me that dialogue is critical here. Without that dialogue, there is no future. Dialogue must not be given up on. Dialogue is critical. We must avoid some more violent means to achieve what we all aspire for Nigeria, and that is peace and prosperity. Nigeria represents a key cornerstone for all Africans, wherever you are on the continent or the world. So our interest in Nigeria will not wane. Nigeria must succeed in whatever guise the people so choose. And so, until the next strong, I remain the motivator. And if in doubt, I say to people, ask questions. If in doubt, ask questions. Don't shout, don't scream. Yeah, don't accuse. Ask questions. Okay. But just before I go to the usual part, I just want to give a big shout out to the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools, or NABS. This is a national network of supplementary schools wholly financed and managed by African peoples from the Caribbean and the continent, devoted to teaching our children the STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and maths, the academic subject, English, maths, literature, and science and geography, the humanities, devoted to teaching culture and tradition to our children. A network of families, networks of individuals supporting our children. I encourage you to become one of those who are supporting the next generation. So if you're unsure where the closest supplementary school is, please go to the NABS website. It's www.nabss.org.uk, or phone the inspired Brother Near on 07958 348 558. I want to give a big shout out to the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. And long may their work continue unabated for many generations to come. Until the next strong, I remain the motivator. This is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. And please, do remember, be relentless in your pursuit.
The Nigerian People's Town Hall Debate. For our families, how to achieve peace and prosperity. Are you Fulani? Are you Igbo? Are you Hausa? Are you Yoruba? Are you an African from the continent or the Caribbean? Participate in the Town Hall Debate on Saturday the 10th of February from 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. Keynote speaker, Tony Nyendi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. We aspire for our families peace and prosperity. We love Nigeria. NINUS 5-point proposition is now the only viable mechanism for halting the state capture of Nigeria and for safely navigating Nigeria to the harbour of constitutional reconstruction. Proposition A. Acknowledgement of the constitutional grievances raised in union disputes. Proposition B. Express commitment to decommission the imposed fraudulent and unitary 1999 Constitution. Proposition C. Express commitment to suspend further national elections under the 1999 Constitution. The untenable outcome of the 2023 presidential election must now be transformed into an immediate transitioning for reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Proposition D. Constituent peoples of Nigeria to work out the modalities for transitioning. Proposition E, announcement of a time-bound two-stage transitioning commence with a regional referendum for constituent components to recommit to or opt out of the Nigeria Union. Then delineation of terms of unions depending on outcomes of the referendums. We love Nigeria. Ninas is right. Transition for union reconfiguration. We love Nigeria. Nigeria's 223 million population will join the People's Town Hall debate on The Motivators Show. Keynote speaker Tony Nyandi, co-convener, attorney and Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress. The Motivators Show, the internet's most inspirational podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too.